Alright, so this is a lock on the Ohio and Erie Canal. And what the lock is designed to do is to get your boats up and down an elevation, just like an elevator. So if you, from where you're standing right now, if you look over to your right, this is higher in elevation than what's beyond the other doors all the way down to your left. So the way this whole thing works is that if you had a canal boat entering in from up here, say it's going in that direction, the doors down there will of course be closed and our water level will be much higher inside the lock. It would be up to about that black line. So as the canal boat would enter, it gets into the lock, we close the doors behind it, and then on the large doors down there we have a smaller set of gates called wicket gates, and they're just like these gates we have up here. We have wicket gates on these doors and you can see where it's open. And so if we open up the gates on that lower portion down there, it lets the water flow out of our lock. And as the water flows, it gets lower and lower in elevation, so our boat gets lower and lower in elevation as well. And the water inside the lock and the water outside the lock are the same height. You can just open those doors right on up and your canal boat's on its way.
So when this was in operation, there was always an abundance of water, because when they came this way, they had to rise, of course.
Yeah, so if they came back this direction, they'd close those doors back behind it, and up here, they would open up these gates that are currently open, and that would allow water to flow in. And then as the canal boat got up to the same height, they would just swing open these doors and keep them going. But there are historically there were a couple areas where there were dams on the Cuyahoga River, and they would feed the water from the river then at the places where it was dammed into the canal. So that was the source of water on the Ohio and Erie Canal for this portion of it at least.
How many boats could fit in here at once?
Just one.
So how would they manage the, what do I want to say? Traffic both ways. There we go.
That's a great question. Normally it was just first come, first serve. That's how it would go. So normally this would be like a bit of a traffic jam, if you will, because you can have boats passing one another on the canal, but here you can only do one boat at a time, so normally you had a traffic jam. And from some of the stories that I've read, life on the canal was pretty boring, so normally if you were, the fourth boat to go through or the last one in line and you wanted to go next, you could make a wager with the first canal boat captain, and you'd bet on whatever it was that, the fourth place guy would probably wager money or something, and the first place guy would wager his spot in line. And what they would do is they get the biggest, strongest guys on each one of the canal boats, so probably somebody like yourself, and they would stand up on these doors, and they had these poles, and they would try to knock each other off the doors. So whoever lost is the one who got wet, and then so if your fourth place boat captain's guy won, then he'd go through the lock next. First place guy, he'd still get to go next, but he'd also might win some money or whatever they felt like trading that day.
This is a pretty impressive system in Panama.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
And it's
just
an amazing,
bigger.
Yeah.
Just bigger.
Just amazing.
Even down there when they have the boats, they hook them up to those like the steel cables, and the things that move them up and down, those are called mules. So they had mules that pulled the canal boats here historically. So same.
Now,
same
and
thing.
I didn't understand.